All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on? Sean, Jordan, Nate, Paraby, Jason, Littleneck, Takedown, Ortiz, Jason, William, I already said that, Michael, Charlie, Michael, come on, two Michaels, Jasmine, and my man Rio. What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Rio gets the much-deserved Tuesday off yesterday after the every 15 minutes on Monday. Let's never do that, man. Those slates are absolutely garbage. Much deserved break yesterday after that madness on Monday. Shout out Nade's always grinding NHL. He was in the spotlights. How was your Tuesday with no sports? I know I assume you played some NHL after hitting 100K earlier in the year. How did those streaks go? How was your day off? What's going on?
Yeah, didn't have the same luck I did the one night I had in NHL. I probably should have just accepted that as my just like a one-hitter quitter for NHL and probably not played again, but I had fun watching NHL. It's a lot of fun just keeping up with those games, and Nades does a really good job of helping everybody build lineups, helping make it very easy, which is kind of the theme of the content here. But yeah, he always helps out a ton. So shout out to Big Nades over there. I might start getting to NHL a little bit as we get some smaller NBA slates on these Tuesdays and Thursdays because I do enjoy watching it a lot. But yeah, much needed day off from NBA. That Monday slate was extremely hectic because there was a ton of injuries, games every 15 minutes up until 7:30 our time, and then you had NFL going on too. So trying to get all that stuff at the same time was wild. But yeah, I'm excited to be back. Normal slate, normal 30-minute increments, and pretty good one. 10-game slate, only 10 games on it, so the slate ends at 6, which is nice. Don't have to sit at the computer all night long, but we will definitely have some Showdown stuff up tonight. Pretty good Showdown slate as well.
Absolutely. I'm showing off a little bit when you were talking. You mentioned NHL, showed off projections, ownership. This is our stone over here, NHL. See, very easy. Only 3-game slates. Lines are very important. Stacking, power play is very important. If you're just tuning in, they're probably like, what are we looking at? Why are we talking NHL? We'll get to NBA in a sec. We're just showing off what we all have over here. Perfect one-stop shop, coordinates power play lines, goals, shots on goal, projection, etc. It's a stacking sport. If you like MLB and you miss the correlation stuff in the winter, NHL is the perfect sport for you. Also less news-driven. Sometimes players are scratched a goalie, so you can't completely be turned off. Turn on NHL notifications, but when lineups are confirmed, you can see all that. So, yeah, lineups, lines. I should say lines. I played hockey. I can't be messing up terminology, that's for sure. So when lines are confirmed, you see that right there. All of our stuff, Nate Slate plan, core report. We're talking NBA, though. Rio has his slate plan up, breaks down every tier. Nobody better in the business. Very, very informative stuff. We're not showing that off. Projections, of course, updated throughout the night, as well as ownership. Showdown, Rio mentioned 2 games tonight, 2-game night slates. Good Showdown contest. Rio will have a slate plan up for that. Monday through Saturday, we have content over there. The stone is what we're clicking on, though. Before we go game by game, let's see if anyone else showed up. Charlie's in here. Already said Jasmine. No, too many sports for Rio? Not enough sports going on, Jasmine. Never enough sports going on. Max is in here. What's going on? Go Fies. What is up?
Max had a big night the other night. I think he had a shipper on Monday, I believe.
Go Fies did?
Max.
Max did.
Yeah, Max had a good night on Monday. Shout out to Max.
Shout out Max. Yeah, I do. What are you? Manning is this thing in Discord, right? Now that you say it?
Yeah.
Yep. Shout out to you, Manning. Yep. Romy, what's going on? Before we go game by game, again, 10 of them, a lot to talk about. I look at the injury report. The first thing is always, and a million Q takes, and a lot of big ones. LaMelo, we'll get that in the first game. We have AD, Levine, Zion. He did go through shoot around. Pods, Dylan Brooks, Rui, Hunter. Like, I could list a million names. When we go game by game, I will list them. But broad slate, just like any of those Q tags you think might miss, do you think they all play? Any leans on any of them? And then just slate overview that you have before we go game by game.
Yeah, definitely something we always keep in mind during NBA season. Like the midday downgrades are never a good thing. So seeing LaMelo Ball kind of go from not being on the injury report to being downgraded to questionable, not a good sign. It's the same ankle that that kept him out towards the end of the season last year. So wouldn't be surprised if they proceed with a ton of caution there with their star point guard dealing with that injury. But yeah, I mean, same thing for Anthony Davis. Kind of he's been dealing with a hip injury all season long. The Lakers, they love to list him and LeBron probable all the time. They're doing a little bit better job this season, not listing them with fake injury tags. But yeah, this is a real one. It's a heel injury. He did get banged up in that game against Detroit. Kind of, was hobbling around, limping around the court. So, I mean, I would not be surprised to see a couple really big injuries like LaMelo and Anthony Davis miss tonight. As far as like the guys you mentioned, yeah, I do expect Zion back tonight. I think we get Levine back tonight, but he was at shoot-around as well. 10-point spread, maybe that means that he's sitting, but I think that he should be back. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, you kind of already have some injury stuff that we have some really good value in the slate because there's some injuries that happened a couple days ago that are providing us with a ton of value. So we'll kind of hit on that as we go game by game.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys like Russell Westbrook will be very popular. The Mavs stuff will be pretty popular. Again, we will go game by game, though. As always, Morse is in here, Tim D, Mark Davis, and then I wanted to touch what's up, Big Ed as well. Last thing I want to touch on is entering less than 10 lineups in 150 max just a completely waste of money. I do not think so because, I mean, just not everyone has the bankroll to 150. You assume if people are 150ing, some of their portfolios probably bad lineups, so that those will pay the rake. Also, people that just throw single bullets in, make one team, throw it in a couple contests, they always throw in the big one, can be pretty bad. So if you really focus your time on those 10 lineups in 150, I think you can build profitably, and it just takes one in a lot of these sports, one for the whole year, especially if you're playing 10 lineups, sometimes multiple of the year. So anything you want to add to that, Rio, or first game?
No, yeah, I mean, it's just it's a risk question if you're kind of okay just going up against people that have 150. If you feel confident in your core guys, then definitely do what I like what Tambo always says on the shorter or when you're playing less lineups, play lighter, play tighter. So yeah, he should definitely cut down your player pool. But yeah, I agree. I've definitely won some 150 max tournaments with 5 to 20 lineups before, so it definitely can happen.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I do in actually NFL Showdown and MMA. I used to 150 max, now I don't. You can still win. I won first time in like years, it felt like a couple weeks ago. But hey, once a couple years maybe can work if you get those big 6-figure scores like my man Rio. I'm still working on that though. But hey, let's try and get a 6-figure score tonight, Rio. Help us out. Lead us the way in NBA. I will chime in when I see fit. First game of the night, Detroit Pistons, Charlotte Hornets. Okay total, 221. We have a 1.5 point favorites are the Pistons. Again, the big injury news in this one. We'll get it right away, 7 p.m. But LaMelo, midday downgrade to questionable. Let's talk a lot. You can talk about if he's in, what does it do? I think this game's a lot worse if he's in. Not many plays. If he's out, though, very important stuff. Nick Richards is also out for Charlotte. Man, is it weird to see this name, Taj Gibson, in 2024. But Gibson might be in play. I'll see your thoughts on that because they're obviously still without Mark Williams. Detroit side, nobody. Nothing's new. Azure Thompson, when will he be back? He's always fun to watch. But break down this game, LaMelo, the big stuff.
Yeah, I don't know when Asar Thompson's going to come back. He's dealing with the blood clot, so that's definitely not good. It's like the Chris Bosh situation kind of made him retire early. I'm not saying that he's going to retire, but tough to see from a young guy. Yeah, I mean, really big injury news kick off the slate. I already mentioned the LaMelo Ball stuff. I'll just kind of proceed with him in. This was the very first game that I started to do research on this morning. So the news of LaMelo Ball kind of came like midway through the day. I guess like could touch on if he's out because I think it's pretty straightforward. You're definitely going to want pieces. Trey Mann would be a really, really strong play at 5.2K and like probably one of the best values on the slate along with Russell Westbrook right there at the same price tag essentially. But like it wouldn't make any of these guys must-haves because Miller, Bridges, they're not cheap really. If Miller was like in the upper 5Ks or low 6Ks, then he would look really good. Miles Bridges just not really seeing any usage. Definitely going to have a ton if LaMelo were to be in. But yeah, if LaMelo's in here, the Charlotte side becomes a pretty easy X out for me. This is really not the best game environment. Not as good as a game environment as you would normally have in these Charlotte-Detroit games. Detroit's actually been pretty solid defensively this season. And both these teams are kind of playing down in pace. The Hornets are dead last in defensive rating, so probably be some decent scores on the Pistons side. Definitely like Cade Cunningham, always have interest in him. Mentioned the role that he has all the time. It's one of the best in the league. He kind of showed it's kind of weird because he put up a triple-double last game and only scored 51-ish DraftKings points. You kind of, you would hope for like 60 from somebody that's getting a triple-double, but he was kind of, that seems like the low end in terms of upside from somebody getting a triple-double. But yeah, at least he's starting to show that. He's a little bit more aggressive with the rebounding and the assist numbers. So we know that the triple-doubles are within his range of outcomes now. So matchup looks really good here. I think both him and Ivy are in play. Ivy's going to be – he would look much better if LaMelo Ball was starting because LaMelo is a turnstile on defense. I don't think that Trey Mann is really much better, but would prefer to see Ivy going up against LaMelo Ball on defense. And then I think Jalen Duren smashes in this one. I mean, you're going to be going up against Taj Gibson, who's on his way out of the league. He's not going to play a ton of minutes. It could be Grant Williams that sees some center minutes, which could kind of pull him away from the rim a little bit. But, I mean, he could just get every single rebound for this team, and there could be a lot of missed shots if LaMelo is not playing. So I like Duren a lot at the price tag. Didn't really get a big price bump, and he played really well in that game against the Lakers. Only in 24 minutes put up a 34.5 DraftKings points with a double-double. Tobias Harris is kind of just fine as like a last man in, but never somebody you're prioritizing. So yeah, not a ton of interest in this game as a whole, but I do like Duren, Ivy, and Cade a little bit.
You mentioned Malik Beasley the last show we were on last Wednesday, which I don't know exactly what he did last Wednesday, but I want to give you some props on that call. He's definitely had a couple good games. Always just a hooper. He can put the ball in the basket. But any thoughts on him at 3-7, or is the slate too big? And we have guys like Najee Marshall that we're going to talk about. Gafford's popping pretty hard. I will say multiple centers in play, so I like the Duren stuff, but just a quick thought on Beasley. Is it just too big of a slate with other better value today?
Yeah, definitely too big of a slate. I will say I was like kind of just messing around with some lineups before we got on here, and it seems like the shooting guard position is the tough spot to kind of – it's a tough spot to fill out tonight. It could definitely change if Trey Mann is inserted to the starting lineup. That would make it a lot better. But it is a tough spot to fill out. I mean, I'm not saying that that Malik Beasley's in play, but just kind of noting that. But yeah, I agree with some of these guys in chat talking about Duren rebound props. I took him on underdog, took him to get a double-double. I think he has a pretty big night tonight. Yeah.
And I like it. His ownership's going to be low. It has to be because center, you only can play two of them. There's a lot of good plays. Point guard's also another strong position. And in terms of Duren at 5.9K, he's not free anymore. Gafford for cheaper is going to be a lot more popular. Then we do have spend-ups if you want to get there. Like Jokic looks like a good play if AD plays. We have some value we're going to get to this next game. Goga looks a little interesting. Another thing I wanted to mention was for him too. He also 5.9K. He opened the year at 7K. We saw him 5.8 last game, but I mean this is a cheap tag for him. So I do like that a lot. Ivy, I like him like you mentioned, and we always talk about Cade when he plays. So the only thing is I wouldn't say be hesitant on locking in too much stuff, but there is injury news. Like if AD's out, LeBron would be a very, very good play. But I will say ownership, the reason I want to hesitate on saying that, ownership might come in a little lower owned if people do want to backload a bit for injury. So Cade's going to get ownership, but of the 16%, maybe you can bump these down 1% or 2%. Because I do think backloading on a slate like this is what people do tend to do with games spread out 2 hours being the last one after initial lock. Nothing more to add. If LaMelo's in, Charlotte, I agree. Not much interest there. Keep it rolling, Magic and the Pacers. We have 228 total. 4.5-point favorites are the Pacers. Another pretty interesting big injury news on this slate. Andrew Nembhard. I don't know quite how it will impact. Like if you're going to play Tyrese, who's been bad this year, Siakam, Miles Turner. I still don't know DFS-wise how big it is, but maybe you can tell me the other side, or if I'm wrong. Magic, though. Jalen Suggs has been a monster. Goga Always love my man some Goga when he's starting, which is the case below 5K. Again, center's loaded. Compare Goga to a guy like Gafford, who I think will be much higher owned. Obviously, you can play in both. Suggs has been great, and then does Nembhard stuff. Do anything with Pacers.
Yeah, so I think Nembhard starting there, he is probably going to be good to go, dealing with the knee tendonitis. Got some shorter stints last game. I believe he played 5 minute rotations, 5-ish minutes rotations, got up to 29 minutes. But yeah, they should be pretty clean from an injury standpoint. The Pacers should, outside of missing both their backup centers, Jackson and James Wiseman, done for the year, both with torn Achilles, which is rough. So yeah, we've been seeing Bennedict Mathurin in the starting lineup there. He's been playing pretty well, as playing like lower 30 minutes. Been kind of a guy that gets a ton. He could have a ton of upside at times. But yeah, as far as like the Orlando stuff goes, it's been really rough for them coming off of 4 straight losses. Their defense has been pretty solid over that span, 4th in D rating in the last 4 games, but they're dead last in offensive rating by a huge margin. They did face a couple tough defenses over that stretch, but this should be a pretty solid spot for them. Indy, not the best defensive team. They're going to play up in pace. Magic do play down in pace, so maybe not the best spot in terms of DFS, but we kind of know who to go to on this side. It's pretty much just Franz, Suggs, and Goga. Also, I feel like me and you are we jinx Paulo all the time, because every time we talk about him not having high ceiling, he goes for 60, and then the one time that we were hyping him up, he tears his oblique and is out for 2 months.
Yeah, I know. I thought of that too.
I think we just got to stop talking about him.
Yeah, not someone that I've ever got right. Some like those MMA fighters, and you just can't never get them right. He's definitely one of those NBA guys for sure.
Yeah, so if there's anybody to blame for Paulo's injury, it's these 2 guys right here. But yeah, Goga, like you said, really always been a really solid fantasy point per minute producer. This is a little bit of a revenge game if you believe in that stuff, but he got the start last game, played 27 minutes, 31.75 DK points. I'll go a little bit more in depth on the Gafford stuff, because I do prefer Gafford in at the same position, just a little bit cheaper.
Just wait till we get there when you go into that stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that these guys are all in play. Franz, Suggs, and Goga. I like the matchup for Franz too. Much better versus teams that have weak rim defenses. He started off the season shooting really hot from 3-point range. This is not a spot for 3-point shooters, so I think that it kind of lines up pretty well for how Orlando likes to play. They're going to be packing the paint, looking to get a bunch of offense going right around the rim. So good spot for Franz. High price tag should keep ownership decently low on him. He hasn't really done much since Paulo's gone down, only topped out at 36 DK points, but he does have decent upside. But also, it's like I've been starting to – we kind of discussed this in Discord on Monday, just thinking about players differently. Like, does somebody have, 5-6x upside? Because that's kind of what you want to win these tournaments. So kind of taking that into account, like I don't know how often Franz is going to be on the winner, especially when you consider he's in the small forward, power forward range, where we already have really good value in Najee and Peyton Watson. That, I mean, they're not going to, I don't think they're going to outscore him, but it's not out of the range of outcomes. So I don't know if I'm really going to get to too much Franz tonight when I think about that a little bit more.
I like that. Just a quick, he scored 41, 46, and then hasn't scored above 40 any other game. Like 46 is probably enough. Like you take it, but it's not like it could be there could be winning teams in tournaments without Franz on a 10-game slate, even with him getting 46. So he hasn't nuked the slate. So I think that makes sense. You got to talk about some Tristan da Silva too. I know you're probably getting there, but multiple people in chat talking. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. So I haven't really watched this kid enough, but from just like a game log standpoint, he's starting. He played 30 minutes in back-to-back games. Hasn't shot the ball particularly well, but he still got 12 shots last game. So I think that's somebody you definitely have to have interest in, but you're also comparing him to 2 guys, Najee Marshall and Peyton Watson, who we know for sure are getting 30 minutes. They don't necessarily need like his size, defense. I don't really know exactly what he brings, but they have bodies. Like they like to get Anthony Black going for some minutes. We know that Mo Wagner is going to be out there for a bit. Isaac's going to mix in. So they have enough bodies in the front court where he does not stand out as a great value in my eyes when you compare him to those 2 others in the later games. But he's not somebody I'm Xing out by any means. But yeah, it's really mainly just focused on Franz, Suggs, and Goga here. I do have a little bit of interest in these Indy guards on the other side. Tyrese Haliburton looked much better last game. It could have been due to the fact that Nembhard returning from the injury. He's been kind of taking away a little bit of the touchdown role we like to see from Haliburton last year. Usage definitely taking a big dip with Siakam in the starting lineup when they got him at the trade deadline last season. But he's had a double-double, been quietly really good the last 4 games, double-double in 4 straight. And don't want to look like too deep into the DVP stuff because it can be very skewed early in the season, but it does stand out to me that the Magic are dead last in DVP, which is kind of interesting when they have a guy like Suggs. They added KCP, who's supposed to be a good on-ball defender, but they're allowing double-digit assists per game, most assists per game to point guard. So I do kind of like.
Is it the pick and roll? That is so interesting.
That was one area that they were really struggling with last year. It could have something to do with that. That also is kind of skewed a little bit because they did go up against SGA. They went up against Luka Doncic as well. So
okay, I was gonna say because those are 2. I mean, solid on-ball defenders. So I mean, it makes sense. Mo Wagner, Stone feet, Goga. So yeah, that's interesting though. Good. Let's see. I love talking ball with you and stuff like that. I would never have known that. Keep going.
Yeah, but you're also, it's like, are we going to get a 60-pointer from Haliburton? I don't think that he really has that. I don't know if he has that in his bag on a consistent basis now. 50s is definitely in play, which would be very solid at 8K. But it is just a little bit less likely for him to do that when sharing the court with Siakam and Bennett Mathurin and Andrew Nembhard, all guys that can kind of eat into his production a little bit. But did want to highlight the matchup for Haliburton tonight. Not really into Siakam. I think that the Magic kind of provide enough size and defense around the rim to kind of slow his production. Good price tag though, 7.6K, so not somebody you need to X out by any means, and he can kind of fit in wherever he does in your lineup, but not somebody I'm going out of my way to play. I do like the upside of Miles Turner with no Jackson, no James Wiseman. Should be pretty clear for 33 to 36 minutes. I would say is a good range for him as long as he stays out of foul trouble. But yeah, Miles Turner is kind of somebody we always like to play when he's low owned, just because he's got huge upside, really good fantasy point per minute producer. Should be able to have a pretty solid matchup against Goga. I don't think that Goga is a great defender by any means. Going to draw him out to the 3-point line a good bit as well. So I like the upside of Turner. And then Mathurin kind of just profiles as like a last man in type play. He is shooting guard, so that is pretty valuable to, if we're guaranteed to get 30 from somebody at 5.3K at the shooting guard position, I think that makes a ton of sense for our lineups. So I don't mind Mathurin. And then last one I'll mention is TJ McConnell, kind of the same thing as Tyrese Haliburton, really good spot DVP wise for point guards. But yeah, I mean, TJ is averaging 1.3 fantasy point per minutes on the season. Played 20 plus minutes in 3 straight games. So if we're getting 20 to 22 from him, he could be a pretty solid value at 4.2K. And he's definitely somebody that we know that he always has huge upside, kind of like a Payton Pritchard, Malik Monk type of play off the bench where they can just completely take over a game at times. So that's all I got on the Pacers.
I mean, what a breakdown. You got me thinking. Pacers side's a lot more tricky for me. Like the Tyrese price tag at 8K. But I do keep coming back to he shot the ball 10 for 16 from the field. So he shot the ball well last game and had 55 DK points, but he shot it really poorly. Every miss was from the 3-point line. He was 2 for 8. So yeah, he makes 2 more. He definitely has a 60-piece point upside at 8K, which is interesting. But he definitely has a low floor where he could have a snowflake and he buries your night. The Turner stuff, like you said, I always like, but I like it more when you kept talking because he has to be low owned at 6'2", and he just showed the upside last game, 50. He hasn't had usage below 20% in any game thus far this year. I feel like that. I don't have the stats to back it up, but I feel like that's pretty rare for a 6K center. He can obviously get rebounds. The price tag on FanDuel, 6'6", not bad either with the stock upside. So I wouldn't play Tyrese and Turner. I probably would max one of these Pacers to be honest, but I do think you mentioned TJ. I think he's fine. Turner, said Benedict, like he's shooting the ball a good amount. His usage is a little above 20, or Tyrese. So I do think one of these dudes probably get there, but good luck picking which one it is. Magic side, I think it's easy. I think it's Suggs. Goga, and I don't know, man, 3.9K, small forward, power forward eligibility. You're giving me 31 minutes. I don't know. I don't think it's the worst play. I guess him, TJ, again, different positions, but similar pricing. Malik Beasley, we talked about. You didn't like him much. Who else have we talked about? Really, those guys. Who would you prefer for value? I know you're going to say the Najee Marshalls of the world later, but any pivots you could see yourself, TJ or what's his nuts, De Silva? You prefer TJ?
Yeah, I like TJ. He's pretty much all the reasons I mentioned. I think we know what we're going to get from TJ, and I think that you kind of it's kind of like a Trae Young situation where you take the ups with the downs with him, because you know that when he pays off, like he's going to get you 32. He's going to have those games where he is the optimal point guard just because he puts up 30, 35, 36 off the bench. So yeah, I would prefer TJ. I don't really know like what to expect from De Silva in terms of upside. But also one last thing I wanted to mention about just another kind of thing going for Miles Turner. Rick Carlisle said that he, like when he gets double digit rebounds, when he gets 10 plus rebounds, then they're kind of playing that the way that they want to play, and it's important that he gets 10 plus rebounds. So I don't know if that means he's going to be more aggressive getting rebounds. He's going to be around the basket because Goga's not going to really draw him away from the basket. So double for Miles Turner, and we're kind of off to the races. I think 40 is like very much in play for him.
Makes a lot of sense. Eric Garcia, what's going on? Jake, Jordan. And yeah, this was the one thing, and that's if I probably like why I asked the question. Point guard is really good today. Westbrook, the main one. You can play both, but if you don't play Westy, that is a pivot you can use there as well, and he is cheaper. Keep it rolling. Next game on the slate. Still plenty to talk about. Keep it up, Rio. New York Knicks, Atlanta Hawks. We have 226.5 total. The Knicks 7-point favorites. Injury news on this one. Nothing really on the Knicks. Cameron Payne questionable. Means nothing on this slate. Atlanta side, man, is DeAndre Hunter gonna finally come back? And David Roddy, also questionable with an illness. I guess do you have any lean? Like if both of them missed, they'd be like Rishire. Would he be back in play right there at 5K? Is he too expensive now? I know I butchered that name again. I gotta quit saying dude's name. Talk about Hunter though. Is he finally gonna be back? This game does not seem like one personally I have too much interest in outside of a couple Knicks. I'll let you talk about the Knicks side.
Yeah, I don't really know about the whole Hunter thing. It's the knee injuries that have been plaguing him his whole NBA career and college career too, if I remember correctly. I don't even think that if he plays, like he's gonna be on a very strict minutes limit, I would imagine. And then Roddy, the midday downgrade with the illness tag is kind of that's like the death sentence in terms of availability. Like anytime you get the midday illness downgrade pre or post COVID, like they're probably going to keep him out. So they're going to be really, really thin in the wing position. I mean, Ricochet, well, I think I'm saying that right too, but
Ricochet. You keep saying Ricochet, so it definitely is. You've said it all 3 days, so keep going. One of these days.
Yeah, hopefully that's right. I don't know. I'm not ready to like write him off as a pro, but I'm like after watching him, I feel like I always watch a ton of Atlanta games because I'm always playing guys on Atlanta or playing guys against Atlanta. I have not been very impressed. Like he's very passive offensively. Quinn Snyder even said that he has to shoot the ball more when he's open. And he just seems like, I don't know. He just seems very passive, and I'm just kind of surprised at the talent level. I thought that Alexander Sarr was a much better pick for Atlanta, but that's a conversation for another time. But yeah, I don't really have interest in any of these Atlanta pieces. I could see them getting blown out in a big way against the Knicks. The Knicks look pretty good right now, getting fully healthy. But I mean, if these guys miss, I don't know, like a Keaton Wallace, kind of interesting in large field. He's been playing really well off the bench. He's a lefty point guard, pretty solid shooter. Played 29, 22, 21 minutes in the last 3 games. So if we get news that Roddy and Hunter are out, Gary Bird going to see some more minutes. Ricochet will see a ton of minutes as long as the game is close. Maybe even in a blowout, they keep him out there just to get him some more confidence going up against some of the back end rotation guys in the Knicks. But yeah, I could see Keaton Wallace just playing like a full fourth quarter stint and putting up a pretty decent score at 3.5K. So I'm going to be probably bumping him up a little bit. And then if I get like 3% of him, I'd be cool with that.
3% is like 6x the field, maybe 15x the field. You and your 0.04%.
All right, maybe I'll get like 2 lineups with him then.
That's still overweight. No one's playing him on a 10 gamer. I love it.
I'll take it. But yeah, the Knicks side looks really good too. All these guys are in really good position. The Hawks have been terrible defensively. They're always going to be bad as long as they have this team out there. Dyson Daniels really good on-ball defender, but they're still giving up a ton of pick and roll points. They're dead last in pick and roll points per game allowed to ball handlers as well. So great spot for Brunson to put up a big score. One thing kind of keeping me off him a little bit is the blowout concern. But he's put up 50 pointers in 30 minutes, so it's definitely possible. But it's nice. We want to see those 36 to 40 minute games from these guys, and that's when we really can access that high ceiling. So Brunson probably falls just out of. I mean, I don't know my rankings for point guards yet, but he probably wouldn't be in the top 5 for me. But I do want to have some exposure to him. Cat, really good spot against Capella. Hawks are dead last in 3-point defense as well. Really bad against catch and shoot guys. Cat being a little bit more aggressive shooting the ball. So I like his upside always when he's in the 8K range. He's got that 50 to 60 point ceiling. And then, yeah, Hart, Bridges, OG, all in play always. I don't know. It's kind of like impossible to rank these guys because they all can.
Let's say how many. Things. I agree. Ranking them like you're picking. It's so close. You're picking hairs. If you don't have a strong lead, though, someone asked, I can't find the comment, but like how many's too many, pretty much, somewhere up here.
I would say probably 2 max in this game on the Knicks side.
Here we go. There it was 2 max. I like it. Yeah, I mean the breakdown feels really easy. Just look at the projected ownership on the Stone. You go to the Hawks side, no one's projected over 1%. I mean, obviously, anytime you see that, it's nobody's a good play. If both of them are out. Projections, ownership, updates, we'll see. But Knicks side, Bridges, Hart, OG, Cat, all getting a decent bit of ownership. Last thing I want to say, though, like, man, 7-point favorites, I mean, it's pretty big. But if this game's within 10 the whole time, the starters are getting their full run. So I wouldn't go too crazy. Like, if you like some of these guys, I wouldn't fade it just because of blowout. But I think 2 max probably of those 4. I'm going to leave Brunson out too. Even Tyrese, who I didn't necessarily love, but I thought he was solid. Give me the $700 savings with that. I prefer those other ones. Cat feels so strong in a really good center position, especially if you want to like just pick one. He'd be mine because there's not really leveraging off other ones. But if the other ones bust, maybe Cat's getting all the rebounds. He's hitting shots, stuff like that at lower ownership probably of those 4. So that's my thoughts, but not too much in this game. Any final ones before the next game? Final thoughts?
No, yeah, I agree with you on Cat. I mean, we could be looking at like 3 to 4% ownership on him. I don't know what we have projected, but I'm assuming it's going to be a lot lower than. Yeah, I mean, he's not coming in at 18% when we have 2 punt centers and we have Wemby and Jokic on the slate and Anthony Davis right now. So I think Cat could be extremely low owned, which is definitely exciting at 8K for him.
Absolutely. What did I say? Splitting? I said splitting hairs, right? Did I say something else? Or he's just laughing at the analogy or whatever. I think I said splitting hairs. That's what I meant. Mario's in here talking SAR. Jay saying easiest way to get in a fight is calling a foul. Yep, at the Y. Can't be calling fouls. I said picking hairs. Okay, that makes sense. Splitting is what I meant. Thank you. Thanks, Steve. The brain works a lot faster than my tongue, so whatever comes out, as you guys know by now, and I appreciate it. Like button, subscribe button, also much appreciated. If you want to join us at the Nation, NBA 15, we have the promo code. Otherwise, if you just go up, click on SHIPIT Nation, you'll see a banner right here. Best deal, $85 gets you everything on the site for the month and all Shiptimizer and the Discord community. No better place out there. Discord, absolutely awesome place. A lot of these names I'm clicking up here are in the Discord as well. Little Next always helping. Jordan, our man. You can find him in Shiptimizer chat and all the other ones. So many awesome people in there. So like button, subscribe button. If you want to join us at the Nation, that is how you do it. We got to keep it rolling with plenty of games still left. One that I don't have much interest, pretty much only 1 or 2 names for me. Golden State Warriors, Boston Celtics, 229 total. Boston 6.5 point favorites. And the big actually Pods is questionable with an illness. Interesting news. Not sure how much it impacts DFS. D'Anthony Melton's out, and then Boston side Jaylen Brown is out. And what they did was they moved Horford up to the power forward, Neemias Queta to starting center instead of Luke Cornett, which we thought so earlier, and it was Queta. $3,200 only. And again, this is why we're talking. Center is so good on this slate. Point guard's actually also pretty good. So I'm not saying you should be building just 2 center lineups, but no doubt there's a lot of value that this position presents itself. And you have Cat, we'll get to Jokic, etc. So, I mean, that's pretty much the only interest I have on this spot. Tatum, I will say, also a good play. Derek White, solid. I said I'm not playing Drew. I don't know, unless you think this game blows out like Pritchard and stuff. But again, point guard, pretty good. He is shooting guard eligible. So maybe you talk me into him, but easy. Keita, White, Tatum, nothing on the Warriors side. How do you see it?
Yeah, I feel like there is a lot that can be said in this game from a like rotation and matchup standpoint that probably won't end up mattering at all in terms of DFS. But I'll just hit on Boston really quickly because it might matter because Keita is looking at a good amount of ownership. I'm going to be fading him tonight. I just think that this is a spot where his minutes are not secure. We know that the Warriors like to run small ball lineups. They can definitely run him off the court with Draymond at the 5. They're going to, be bombing it from 3. I just don't see Keita providing what they need defensively or offensively in order for him to see those minutes. I mean, he got the start, but I have to look at the popcorn machine rotation, but I don't think I think he had like a pretty long second half stint that kind of got him there, but he was looking not great in the first half. There's just no, I don't know. It must have just been the matchup against Atlanta that they liked for him against Clint Capella, but Hornet makes. Okay.
It was, he started the game, obviously he played 5 minutes, came out, checked back in, 9.5 minutes left in the second quarter, played the whole second, started the third quarter, played 12 minutes all the way down to the 3-minute mark, got 9 minutes, and then he didn't see the court after that. It was a blowout because they had all their bums in. So, that game, was it just the Hawks and Clint Capella? Let's see. He pretty much matched Capella's minutes. But even when Capella came out at the end of the second quarter, I guess Okongwu was really similar to Capella. So, Popcorn Machine had it look pretty good 1 through 3, first through third quarter before it was blown out. But what you said about this matchup, and you're probably right. They're probably going to pick on him and force the Celtics to go Horford at the 5 the more you talk about it.
Yeah, so I guess I was definitely wrong about the whole the minutes thing because he would have been on pace for 28 minutes or something if he matched his minutes for the second half. So that would make him a really good play. But still, I digress. I think that this is not the spot for him. I'm definitely okay taking an underweight stance, if not a full fade stance on him. I prefer Goga, prefer Gafford a lot more, and then I prefer to get to the spend ups. So won't look to get to too much of him. But also, Sam Hauser was returning from injury, so I just feel like Hauser makes more sense for this team long term as a starter. If Brown were to miss a handful more games, just kind of makes more sense to fill in if it's not going to be Cornett or Keita. But yeah, the narrative street definitely big for Jason Tatum tonight. Obviously, he got benched in the Olympics, and there was a ton of conversation about that coming into the season. Definitely feel like Tatum's got a chip on his shoulder. Looks like a MVP candidate right now. Has been playing really well. Definitely, I'm kind of buying into that. I think that he was definitely upset by.
He probably was, but dude, LeBron, Curry, KD, and there's so many guys. But I get it. The first game, what Kerr did was definitely he made a statement because the game was a little out of hand. So I agree. I bet you there is bad blood.
Tatum's got a bit of an ego too. He's definitely great. So I think that he knows how good he is, and he definitely talks and plays like that. So I definitely could see him coming out this game and just being extremely aggressive. Still got to make your shots, but he's been shooting the ball really well lately. Tougher matchup. They do have this Golden State team. They have defenders up and down the board that can kind of give him fits with Wiggins, with Draymond. Maybe even they but I mean, Trace Jackson-Davis could probably keep up with him a good bit. Moses Moody, like they got guys out there that could definitely give him some issues.
They go Gary Payton, a little small ball and pesky him. They go try and get into him, but
it's possible
he shoots over. I would try it. I love
They started Payton. Yeah, I like Gary Payton a lot. He started last game. Only played 16 minutes, but
we have him projected to start, in this one as well. I mean, Wiggins or Gary, it's definitely not an easy matchup. I think Tatum would like to see Draymond, which I don't think is going to happen. But
yeah, I could see this game getting a little chippy. But yeah, I'm buying into the narrative. I think Tatum comes out very motivated tonight, puts up a big score. And I mean, we didn't even mention the whole like Jaylen Brown stuff. Obviously, that's going to have a huge trickle down effect for the usage. Tatum is obviously the biggest beneficiary. He's been lights out in the minutes with Brown off the court this season. He's almost averaging 2 fantasy points per minute in a 91-minute sample. Last season, we had a much larger sample. It was 500 something. He was still really good from a point per minute standpoint. So yeah, nothing really much to say about him. Really like Tatum tonight. Derek White has been the guy that sees the biggest bump in usage. Really when any one of the starters misses, but it's the biggest when Brown is off the court. Has a 6.3% usage rate bump, averaging 44.25 DK points per 36 minutes last season. And in, I think it was 10 games without Brown last season, averaged 37.3 DK points per game. Much tougher matchup. The matchup against Atlanta was probably the nuts for point guards. He put up 44 DK points in only 29 minutes, but we're going to see the rebounding rates come up. The assist rates are going to come up a lot. So I still like Derek White. I think he's got good upside at sub 7K. I could get to Drew Holiday a little bit more in this one just because this is a big game. I think this one's nationally televised, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll check for you.
But either way, this is a pretty big game. I think anytime the defending champs are playing against a team like
ESPN.
The Golden State Warriors, so ESPN game nationally televised. So you have longer timeouts, so maybe they want to get him, get his minutes up there a little bit. He's been kind of fluctuating, going up and down. He goes down, Pritchard goes up, and vice versa. So they're going to need his defense on Steph Curry tonight, and it's the same situation a couple of nights ago when he was getting a lot more ownership and projecting a lot better with no Jaylen Brown. Obviously a worse matchup, but he's going to be really low owned. Pivot in this range for point guards where Russ is cheaper and obviously in a much better situation in terms of usage. But yeah, I think Drew's got a little bit of upside at 5.6K. Horford has been very good without Brown. Last season averaged 28 DK points per game. I just don't really. I don't see the need to go to Horford personally, and then Pritchard, kind of for the reasons I mentioned, that I could see Drew playing a little bit. I think that kind of will take Pritchard's minutes down a little bit more, but maybe not. I mean, they're pretty comfortable with him. He's been playing really good this season, so that's pretty much what I got. Do like Holiday as a low owned play, like Tatum a lot, like Derek White a ton, and then I'm fading Kata tonight.
You made it easy. No Kata for me then. You don't like him. I don't like him. Drew's one of my favorite real-life basketball players. Loved him in the Bucks. Said it last show with you. I can't play this dude right now. Feels no upside. Follow Rio, don't follow me. But I love White and I love Tatum, so I don't have to play Drew. And I probably would max one of those two on a 10-game slate. Would you do the same?
Of who?
Tatum, Derek White. 10K 69 or 10-2 69. I guess I should say hand built. I'm not going in my 150 pool and making that rule. Like if I get a couple items with that, sure. But if you're playing 10 teams in the 150, circling all the way back to the beginning, none of my 10 teams would have White and Tatum. I probably have White on a couple of Tatum, but would you make that rule, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely in something less than 150, I would.
Yeah.
I would probably even consider just a max 2 entirely. Just because it's such a large slate, there's going to be much better spots and we'll probably get better scores from the secondary guys elsewhere if one of them goes off. I don't know if that makes sense, but like if Tatum going off, then we're probably going to be able to get a better score from somebody in Derek White's range.
In the 7K range, exactly. Yeah, that's my thoughts as well. 45 minutes in, Rio. Still got 7 games left. I will shut my mouth. You keep going. I'll add anything else I see very quickly. Spurs, Rockets. We had a 215 total, one of the lowest on the slate. Rockets 6.5-point favorites. Jeremy Sokan out for the Spurs. Other side of the ball for Houston, Tari Eason and Dylan Brooks, questionable. Looking at ownership in this game, not showing too much on either side. Wemby, a freak of nature, always fun. Just center eligible, though, as we're showing. Any interest in Wemby? Any interest in this game?
Yeah, definitely interest in Wemby. Gotta shout out my guy Little Neck. Me and him were sweating out the Wemby triple-double on Monday night, where he was at like 6 or 7 blocks and 6 or 7 rebounds with like 8 minutes to go, and then just got so close. But yeah, he's gonna be getting those quadruple doubles in the next couple of years, I would imagine. Yeah, in terms of the game environment, both these teams have been very solid defensively, both in the top 10 defensive rated teams. Spurs rim defense, obviously really good with Wemby down low. Rockets are allowing the 5th least 3-pointers per game. But yeah, I think that there's some sneaky big injury news on the Rocket side, because if both of Tari Eason and Dylan Brooks miss, then we're talking about a starting rotation spot and another 22, 24 minutes that are just going to be vacated. And Amen Thompson, he's been really good lately. I mean, he's just a stud when he plays. He's played 34, 33 minutes the last 2 games, put up 41.25 DK points against Golden State with a double-double, was 1 rebound away from a double-double against the Knicks, and put up just under 30 DK points a game in that game. I kind of think that it's worth reserving some of your lineups to wait for this news. I don't really know the extent of the injuries for Brooks, but kind of Eason has been a guy that they've always limited. So I wouldn't be surprised if they hold him out here. But yeah, I mean, they're questionable, so it's kind of worth having a plan for that if those guys get ruled out. Because I think Amen Thompson would be a fantastic play at a 4.6K point guard shooting guard, or a point guard small forward. Wish he was shooting guard. But yeah, as far as the other Rockets go, I'm not going to get to Fred VanVleet. He's just too expensive, doesn't provide enough upside. Jalen Green, I like the matchup for him a little bit more, but on a big slate, sub 8K, kind of tough for me to get there. He did put up 40 plus in both the games against the Spurs this season, but I just don't think that 40 is going to be enough tonight. We're going to need probably 380 to 400 points to win a tournament tonight. Don't know if he's going to be on those rosters. And then Sengun, he's cheap enough to consider. They talked about getting him more involved, running the offense through him a little bit more. He bounced back in a big way against the Knicks. Tough matchup, but he's kind of generally struggled against Wemby, so not somebody I'm going out of my way to play. And then on the Spurs side, have a ton of interest in Wemby as a spend-up option. He's kind of one of the few guys that can compete with Jokic and Luka and AD for the top raw scorer on the slate. And yeah, I mean, he's playing amazing right now. The minutes are starting to creep up a little bit, which is really good. If we're getting 34 on a nightly basis, like, you're guaranteed to get 55 probably. And then he put up 67 against Utah, easy matchup, but then put up 70 against the Clippers, which is, I would say, a tougher matchup. Zubac, a pretty good defender. So yeah, 34 from Wemby looks like a very strong spend up. And then CP3 has been playing lights out last couple of games. I think it's 4 straight games with a double-double. I like him at 5.9K, really good value, projecting really well with no Jeremy Sochan. And then I want to get your thoughts on, I guess, how you think the rotation. I guess I'll answer it because I'm the guy for it. But Stephon Castle got the second half start for Jeremy Sochan. Looked pretty good. They're going to need some on-ball defense, so I could see him getting the start again. But their coach that's filling in for Popovich right now basically said that we're going to be struggling offensively with no Sochan, which is kind of surprising. But that kind of makes me have a little bit of interest in Keldon Johnson, 5.3K. He did put up 40 just 2 games ago, and that was with a fully healthy team against Minnesota. Played 28 minutes. Game. Yeah. If they need offense, Castle they're going to go to Keldon.
Yeah, I like that. Castle didn't close. He did. I mean, yeah, I'm glad you kept answering because I didn't know shit, but I popped open popcorn machine, and my guess is exactly what you're saying, which a 6.5 point dogs, you probably want to assume they do need scoring, and that would take me off of Castle a little bit, I think, at that price.
Yeah, Julian Champagnie played a ton of minutes that last game too, 4.5K, but I don't think we're getting 38 from him.
Yeah, he played on a nightly basis. Wow.
Yeah, he played a ton. He was shooting the ball really well, and I mean, it's kind of like you don't have a game plan for when your starting forward gets injured, so you kind of have to just roll with the punches. And Champagnie looked like he was the guy they were going to go with. But you're not like he hasn't topped 30 once this season. He's been pretty much capped at like 28. So not expecting that from him.
Yeah, I don't really have anything. I meant Amon Thompson, like you mentioned. It only can get better if they're out. So I really do like that shout, and he's fine even if they are in. From everything you've said, and then Chris Paul definitely projecting fine. Wemby, I like him as well. But other than that, not a game I really want to get too overboard on. I will say this next one definitely important. Lakers, Grizzlies, injury report, or I always talk spread first. Biggest on the slate, 231. Oh, second biggest. Sorry, we're going to get to this Mavs one. 231.5. Total, we have Grizzlies 1.5 point favorites. And big injury news, Lakers side, we talked about AD at the top. He is questionable with the heel injury, which is different. So Rio said he very well could miss. He's not sure, but 8 p.m. Eastern, obviously if he's out, it is worth noting. I assume Jackson Hayes probably starts. I always love me some Jackson Hayes, point per minute monster, 4,100. He's cheap. But Rui's also questionable too. That will have an impact on the Lakers rotation if he's out. Memphis side, Luke Kennard questionable. No Desmond Bane, no Marcus Smart. John Concher also doubtful. What I want you to talk about to start, and then you can get into it. Obviously, AD's out. LeBron gets a big bump. I mean, everyone does. Reeves, D'Lo. If Rui's out, Kennett and Cam Reddish, I think, would get a little boost. But how about this? Obviously, or Zach Edey had a monster game. He's low owned. Tough matchup if he goes against AD. But if AD's out, I don't think anyone really thinks about the other side. Jackson Hayes is way easier matchup than AD is. And you just look what AD did. He put up the 50 spot at a great center position, will be low owned. And I doubt anyone really thinks of that side. If AD's out, it's all Hayes. So touch on that first. That's what stood out. And then Lakers side, yeah, go for it. There's a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah, I mean,
Rui's doubtful? Is he doubtful or questionable?
No, he got upgraded. He was doubtful, but he got upgraded to questionable with an illness. Right before we came onto the show.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think you put it very, very eloquently. I agree that Zach Edey would be a very, very strong play down in the low 4Ks, pivot off of Goga, pivot off of Gafford, would be a pivot off of Hayes in the exact same game if Anthony Davis were to get ruled out. But I probably wouldn't be going there if AD is in, just because it's a very, very tough spot for him just to kind of keep up with the offensive prowess of AD, and definitely brings a ton of injury, a foul risk. We've seen him have a ton of foul trouble early in his career. But, yeah, I mean, he's one of the few guys in this range that has that 50-point upside. I think when things are going right for Gafford, he could get there. But so yeah, I think you kind of have to have a little bit of interest, even if AD is in. But if AD is out, and then I think he kind of comes into consideration as a play in your single entry lineups. And then the same would be said for Jackson Hayes. He would be getting the start, would be playing a ton of minutes, did really well in some spot starts for AD last year. Yeah, I would imagine that Rui is going to play tonight. I was kind of excited for him to miss because I had a little bit of interest in Dalton Connect. I just think that the matchup could have been really good for him, even though they probably would have started Cam Reddish or Max Christie. I just thought that that they need a little bit of shooting. Memphis really struggling against three-point shooters, catch and shoot guys. So I thought that Connect kind of was poised for a pretty solid game here. But yeah, I mean, this could be a pretty big spot for Ja and the Memphis offense in general. I mean, I think Ja's definitely got the upside, but they have a pretty big advantage in one area specifically. The Lakers are the second worst in transition defense this season, and the Grizzlies are first in transition scoring by a pretty wide margin. So yeah, this could be a really big spot for Ja. He's had, pretty good success against this Lakers team in his career. I think that guards versus Lakers is kind of always going to be a thing as long as you have Reeves and D'Lo out there trying to defend these guys. We've seen, kind of mentioned it with Cade last game, that JJ Redick pointed out that they struggle against drive-heavy guards, and that's what Ja's going to be getting downhill the whole game. So it could be a really big spot for Ja. And another thing to kind of give him a little bit more upside, he's been complaining about his minutes being capped early in the season. Saw him get up to 33 last game, which was the most he's seen all season long. So I think now we're starting to get to the point where Ja is going to be consistently getting that 33 to 35 minute range. And when he's in that range, he's pretty much always in play as one of the best point guards on the slate. So I like Ja a ton. don't really have a ton of interest in these secondary Memphis guys unless Anthony Davis were to sit. I think that would kind of improve the outlook of Jaren Jackson Jr., mentioned Zach Edey. That's pretty much it, though. I mean, I could talk about the Kennard stuff, but I don't think it matters enough for the rotation. If you were to get mixed in, it's going to be for a handful of rotation minutes probably. And then Lakers stuff, as it stands right now, if they were fully healthy, I think AD is a great play. Prefer Wemby probably, and then definitely prefer Jokic. But the role has been really good for him. They're running the offense through him, but I think that's kind of taken a toll on him. We know he's kind of been his body can break down a little bit at times, so I think that this seems like a decent spot to get him some rest, but we'll see what happens. And then LeBron is a good play regardless. He just fits rosters really well. A little bit different tonight since small forward, power forward is where the value is coming from, but he's only 9K, been upwards of 50-plus DK points back-to-back games, so he looks very strong. And then I like the spot for both Reeves and D'Lo tonight. The three-point defense for the Memphis is their weak spots. I could see both those guys getting going. Reeves has shot the ball pretty poorly last couple of games, 0 for 6, 3 for 10 last two. And then D'Lo, his minutes are just kind of capped in like the 32, 33-point range. But I wrote in the slate plan, I just feel like the explosion game from D'Lo is coming pretty soon, and I think that this could be a decent spot for it against this Grizzlies team, 5.6K. Nobody's going to go there, so I like D'Lo a little bit.
Makes sense. Yeah, if AD's out, all those dudes definitely get a bump. If AD's in, AD's by far my favorite play on that side, and then pretty much that'd be it for me in that game. I do like your Ja take as well, but even Ja's a way better play if AD's out with worse rim protection. Even though Hayes is long, you definitely could get in foul trouble. But I wouldn't mind if AD's out. If you want to mini stack this game or game stack it a bit, Ja, Edey, D'Lo, or Reeves or something, LeBron, like you mentioned. I always struggle to get to him, I think, with AD in. Like, he's going to have those games, but definitely plenty of games where it's D-Russ or Reeves or AD. But if AD's out, you got to think LeBron, huge boost in usage. Minutes, I think, go up, and he'd be a great play at 9K, would be popular. But important injury news in this one. Again, 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 hour after lock. So when we do get the news, if anyone's out, projections will be updated. We'll tag everyone in Discord. If anything changes on like core reports, like Cash, if anything changes, I'm always looking. I'm playing throughout the night. They will be made in yellow. Just constantly be refreshing stuff like that. The GPP core report as well, and projections, of course, because they're updated throughout the night. Let's keep it rolling. 3 games left, Rio. Next game on this, or 4 games left. I said 3 because this one is nothing. It's not even in my mind. Cleveland Cavaliers, New Orleans Pelicans. 223 total and 6.5 point favorites are the Cavs. Cleveland side, Levert's questionable. Doesn't mean much. Dean Wade's out. I have no interest on that side. Pelicans, Zion's questionable, but he went through shoot around. Jordan Hawkins and Jose Alvarado also questionable. But they just got, I guess if Alvarado missed and Hawkins, I don't know, Brandon Boston would start. Moral of the story is, unless both those guys miss, I probably don't have interest in anyone in this game. And do you even think those guys miss?
Yeah, so Hawkins, he's been playing through the back spasm, so I would imagine he's good to go. You already mentioned that Zion was at shoot around, so kind of expect him to play. And then Alvarado, midday downgrade with the ankle. I don't really know the extent of the injury, but yeah, I guess like the if-then stuff would be Brandon Boston would be a pretty solid play at 4.2K. Kind of been he's a pretty talented player. I always liked watching him when he was with the Clippers, I believe. When he would get those random 20 minutes off the bench and put up a ton of points. But he's been kind of a big part of what they've been doing the last couple of games, 23, 30, and 37 minutes, scoring the ball well, 14, and 20 points, put up 35 the game against Portland. Yeah, I think they would definitely need some secondary scoring outside of Zion and Ingram, and I guess Hawkins too. But they would need some ball handling as well if Alvarado were to miss, because they pretty much have no other point guards on the roster outside of Alvarado. It's essentially him, Ingram, and Zion that are that are running the point. So yeah, Boston would have to get mixed in there a little bit. So I would like him if he does get announced a starter, if Alvarado and or Hawkins were to miss, because it kind of is in line with what I want to do tonight, which is spend up at point guard and center. And we need probably just need to kind of fill a roster spot at shooting guard, and that would kind of be perfect if Brandon Boston were to be announced a starter. So I like that a little bit. But yeah, I do agree with you. Don't really have to spend a ton of time on this game because I think this is probably the least enticing game environment on the slate. If you want to get into some Cleveland guys, I think Evan Mobley probably the best at 7.5K. Kenny Atkinson basically said that they want to have him handling the ball a little bit more and bringing the ball up. So, haven't really seen the role that we've been kind of talking about last couple of games. The assist numbers have been kind of steady in like the 3 range. But, I don't know. Maybe it comes soon. I don't really anticipate it. But, yeah, nothing too much in this game. I just don't see Zion or Ingram putting up usable fantasy scores at these elevated price tags.
Yeah, that's a fade game for me. 10 games, make it a 9-game slate. Still a tough one, though, for sure. Bulls, Mavericks, the next game on the slate at 8:30 Eastern. We have a 237 total, biggest on the slate. Mavs, big boy favorites, 9.5. Zach LaVine, questionable. And on the Dallas side, we keep talking Gafford, Najee Marshall, some of these guys. Derek Lively's doubtful, obviously huge for Gafford. PJ Washington is out. Checking ownership in this game, definitely going to have popular pieces. Go to the Mavericks. Luka up there. Najee up there. Gafford up there. Kyrie even getting a bit. Other side for the Bulls, low owned. Unless you think, if LaVine misses, like I would like Kobe White at 6'7". I think he'd be a very strong play, actually. But if LaVine's in, I doubt I really get to the Bulls like I talk about pretty much every time. So break down Bulls side stuff, or Bulls first, and then get to the Mavs.
Yeah, pretty much the same thoughts as you. If LaVine were to be in, I don't definitely want to be getting to any of the guards in LaVine, Giddey, or White, but I think Vucevic is kind of okay. Doesn't have the biggest ceiling like Cat or Sengun have shown already this season, but he's been very solid. Been kind of like the lowest he scored this season was 37.75. Obviously, that's not good, but he's consistently in the low 40s and then has 50 plus in back-to-back games, although much softer matchups against Utah and Brooklyn. Those are the kind of like the 2 best spots for centers right now. Not too interested in the Bulls as it stands, but that would definitely change if LaVine were to get ruled out. Ayo as well would be a really, really solid value. Another guard position that we'd look to fill. I think that he would be probably one of the best values on the slate if LaVine gets ruled out. And then, the Bulls have just provided these great game environments all season long. They're playing really fast, allowing a ton of scoring at the rim. Their catch and shoot stuff has been really bad as well. So I think that these Mavs are in a great spot. Kind of been talking about Najee all show up to this point. He's going to be one of the best values on the slate. Going to be the highest owned, but that's just kind of a set it and forget it thing for me with no PJ Washington. He's going to see 30 plus minutes, and he could even play like 34 or 35. And the matchup is really good against this Bulls team. So like him a ton. Luka is one of my favorite spends on the slate. He finally showed that ceiling last game. It took him 42 minutes to get to 70 DK points, whereas Jokic he hasn't scored less than 60 once this season. I'll talk about that when we get there. But I don't know. The range of outcomes have been really wide for Luka. He has not shot the ball particularly well, but hasn't really even gotten a ton of double doubles or even been really that. I mean, he's been close to triple doubles, but you need a triple double from him at this price tag. But this is a good spot. I like the matchup a ton for him here, so I'll definitely get to him. I think at the discounted price for Kyrie, I would probably be in favor of Luka just because I know he's going to be probably half the ownership. And then kind of the same thing I mentioned about guys needing tournament winning ceilings. We've only seen Kyrie hit 6x his current price tag twice this season, and he's been well below 5x pretty much every other time. You would be very happy with 50 to 49, 47 from him, something like that. But I think at the ownership, I would probably just side with Luka in this one. I think Clay has a pretty compelling case to put up a ceiling game with no PJ, a little bit more offensive responsibility and a little bit more usage going his way. Good matchup for three-point shooters. Always like picking against the Bulls with guys like Clay. He did flash the ceiling early in the season, been kind of – the usage has definitely gone back in favor of Kyrie and Luka for the most part. But, we do know that the 40-pointers are within the range of outcomes for Clay. And then Gafford is kind of the, the top point per dollar value at center for me. Always been a really solid fantasy point per minute producer. Now we're talking about him possibly seeing 30 plus minutes with no Lively. They're not going to want to get Powell out there for, I would say, more than 16 minutes tonight, maybe. So I see like 30-ish projected for Gafford, which would, I mean, he should be cleared of 30-point projection if that's the case. So I like Gafford a ton. Probably a core play for me along with Najee Marshall.
I don't really got anything more to add besides Levine was at shoot-around. Thanks to our man Ivan got Yokes, which, again, turns me off on the Bull stuff. And then Mavs, Najee, probably most popular play in the slate. Great value, 3,400. Luka going to get ownership as a top spend, 11.5. Gafford at center, probably the most center play or most popular center play on the slate. So obviously you're good. If you play Luka, you can play Luka, Najee, and Gafford, all three of them in your lineup because of the pricing positions. It totally is fine. Going to move to the next game on the slate. 2 games left. OKC Thunder taking on the Denver Nuggets. We have a 223 total. OKC 6.5 point favorites. Injury news, nothing on the OKC side to worry about. Denver side, Aaron Gordon left last game. He is out today. Jamal Murray is also out with a concussion. That brings into a lot of Denver guys in play. What I'm going to say is, quick, before I shut my blinds and let you talk with the sun coming to my eyes, but OKC side, they're healthy, they're expensive, so I really don't have interest. The one I thought maybe for a sec, Jalen Williams at 7'6", who's been good, but you kept saying it. You said it in the last game. You said it about someone earlier, Franz. Like, do they have that slate breaking upside? I look at the game log, 38, 33, 42, 42, 42. Dude literally scored 42.75 3 games in a row. That is insane. 0.75 too, 46. Like, he just hasn't got that 50 plus yet. At 7'6", do you need it? I don't know. On a 10-game slate, I'm not sure. I want it, and I know he does have the upside, but he hasn't broke 51. So he was the one I'd interest in, and I think I might just fully fade OKC. Nuggets side, though, talk away, man. Westy, very popular. Watson, a good play. Joker, always good. MPJ. So, yeah, take this game away. I'm going to shut my blinds.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you 100% about the Jalen Williams SGA thing. I think that it's kind of tough for these guys to access the ceiling at the price tags that they're at. Matchup's fine. Denver not been that great defensively, but yeah, just in comparison to a lot of the guys priced around them, like SGA is priced around Wemby, Tatum, Ja, a little bit cheaper than Luka, Anthony Davis, like a lot of guys that I prefer a lot more at just the point guard position as well. So I probably won't get so much, if any, SGA tonight. And then the same thing for Jalen Williams, like you said, just kind of tough for him to hit that tournament winning ceiling. I love Jalen Williams, one of my favorite players in the league, but yeah, just I don't know. I don't really have a ton to say he's a solid player, but I just don't know in terms of DFS if I want to go there. I do think Chet has a little bit of a ceiling here in terms of minutes. He's been kind of limited. The game against Portland, he got into foul trouble really early. Then they kind of just limited his minutes against the Clippers and against Orlando. Maybe to ramp up for this game, which is probably a pretty game in terms of the outlook of the playoff picture in the Western Conference later in the season. Definitely going to want to match up Chet with Jokic as much as they can. And Chet's always been a really solid fantasy guy, point per minute guy. So got the blocks upside. I think he makes a little bit of sense in this the center range, 8K. I feel like there's a good amount of plays that are kind of condensing right there. So I'll have a little bit of Chet tonight in hopes that we get the ceiling game, because we've seen it from him twice already this season. He put up 62 against Denver, played 36 minutes in that game on the 24th of October, and then 2 games later, really good matchup against Atlanta, put up 56. So I mean, he's going to have Russell Westbrook driving at him, going to give him a ton of looks at look for some blocks. So I think Chet makes a pretty strong case as a GPP play tonight. And then the Denver side, much more ownership going to be on them for good reason. No Jamal Murray, no Aaron Gordon, so we're going to see a starting lineup of Westbrook, Braun, Porter Jr., Peyton Watson, and Nikola Jokic. I think you could pretty comfortably say that like 3 of these guys in the lineup is very easy to do. Russ and Peyton Watson make a ton of sense as value plays. I don't have much to add. I think that, Peyton Watson going to be playing 30 minutes. Does have a little bit of foul issue or a foul risk if he were to be the one that's guarding SGA. I think we've seen them do that in the past, but it could be Christian Braun. They've been kind of defaulting to him as the on-ball guy for defensive purposes. But yeah, I mean, you can't really predict that. I think that Peyton Watson is a very strong value at 3.4K, and the same for Russ. He's going to have a ton of usage flow his way with no Jamal. He's got the assist and rebound upside. The shot can come and go in an instant, so he might shoot over 10, but he could still get there with the rebounding and assist stuff. You just need to see the shot fall a little bit. I do think that this is a pretty solid spot from a matchup perspective for Michael Porter Jr. Kind of the only weakness in the OKC defense so far. Also, I actually wanted to highlight like how good they've been defensively. They're first in the league in defensive rating, first in pick and roll defense in both ball handler and rollman, and by a wide margin. I mean, their pick and roll defense has been incredibly good. So that is another kind of hit on Russell Westbrook, but same thing I said. He's got the floor with the PRA stuff. And then, yeah, Michael Porter Jr., the only spot that this OKC team has a weakness defensively is against three-point shooters, catch-and-shoot guys. MPJ been pretty cold shooting the ball this season. Has made 3 or more in 4 straight, so trending up, and the rebounding numbers have been pretty solid for him. But he's got really good upside. We've seen 40s from him already this season. I think that this is a pretty solid spot for him. With no Aaron Gordon, more rebounding opportunities for him. No Jamal Murray should mean more offensive burden on his shoulders. And then Jokic, I think, is probably the safest spend up tonight. He's been 60 plus every single game this season, and he's starting to show that ceiling that we need from him. I just think that this is a year where Jokic just puts the team on his back and does everything he can to help them win. 72 points against Toronto, easy matchup, but 81 against Brooklyn, another easy matchup. Minnesota put up 65. That's a tough spot. 66 against Toronto. It's kind of weird that they've played twice already this season. And then 65 against Clippers, another tough matchup. Put up 60 against OKC. So, yeah, I mean, you could kind of pencil him in for 60 tonight with upside north of 80. So, yeah, I like him a ton. And one guy I wanted to mention before we move on was Julian Strawther. He would probably directly eat into Russell Westbrook's minutes, so I would probably want to pair them away from each other, just because they don't really need ball handling with Jokic out there. I think you got enough. And then Strawther has been shooting the ball really well lately, put up double-digit shot attempts in back-to-back games, 26.5 in both of those games. But, yeah, they're going to need some secondary offense, and I just don't know. Like, I'm going to be playing Russ in probably my single entries, but in MME, I probably want to get a good amount of Strawther and pair him away from Russ, just because I don't know if they necessarily need Russ for this game for what he provides. I could see Strawther kind of being the guy that they need to look to for some offense.
Makes a lot of sense. Great breakdown. Multiple people in chat talking about Strawther. I like your shout on grouping them away. I don't have interest in Thunder side. You mentioned Chet. Yeah, Chet always has upside. So if you want to go there, Rio liked it a little bit. Not much OKC side. Denver is important, though. One game left, Rio. One that I do not have much interest in. Miami Heat. Phoenix Suns, 222 total. Suns, 5.5-point favorites. Miami side, Jaquez is out. Kevin Love is out. Nothing on the Phoenix side. Usually no injuries. Not much interest in terms of DFS. But, you know, my man Tyler Hero is in this game. Still below 7K. He has that really nice shooting guard tag that you do not like on this slate. It all adds up for me. And we're looking at 16%. Yeah, I guess 16% might be right. I still like him. And I would play him at the shooting guard position, at a position we don't like much. I mean, 30% usage, 6.6K, 35 minutes. Obviously, that'd be 30% would be good, but he had it last game. He's had it multiple times. So hero or bust for me. Nothing on the – I mean, I don't know if I'm ever really going to play the Suns when they're fully healthy. Just so many good names. So what about you?
Yeah, this is the game I pretty much have the least notes about. Just never really excited to get into these Miami games. Phoenix has provided a couple good game environments, but yeah, on the Heat side, it's just Tyler Hero for me. Maybe you get to Terry Rozier, but pretty tough not having the shooting guard eligibility. The Suns are the second worst team against pick and roll guys. That's kind of lines up right with what Tyler Hero does. He's been the best player for the Heat this season so far, I would say. So yeah, he's the only one that's going to be in my player pool tonight. The Phoenix side, definitely hard to find big ceiling games from these guys. I do prefer Devin Booker, just because the matchup looks the best for him. He's been shooting the ball terribly the last couple games. Went 3 for 18 against Philly. He shot 2 for 16 the last 2 games from 3-point range, but just the game before that against the Clippers, put up 65 DK points, 40 real points, shot 5 of 9 from deep. The one area that the Heat do, I don't want to say struggle with, but because it's kind of by design, but they'll funnel the opposing team's offense to 3-point shooting. They're going to take away easy stuff at the rim, so Booker could put up a solid score, just true scoring tonight. Don't know if it's necessarily something I'm going on my way to play in DFS. But, I mean, the tag on Nurkic is kind of interesting, too, at only 5.3K. Bam hasn't been not that great of a defender this season, as much as I do think that he is a good defender. Nurkic been really good rebounding the ball lately, 15 in back-to-back games, only put up 3 points in the game against Portland, so it would have been nice to have that double-double mixed in, but he put up 15 and 15 against Philly 2 days ago, so kind of interesting. Kind of the same thing, though. I'm not looking to go out of my way to play it, but he is one of the few guys in the the 5K. More to think about it, I just don't see a reason to go there over Gafford or Goga. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on this one. I think it's probably the second worst game on the slate in terms of DFS.
I liked your Booker shout. Just Booker or Hero for me in this one, the 2 shooting guards. But, I mean, the usage is always solid for Booker. But in his big spike games, 32%, 31%, he shot the ball fine against the Clippers. Not even a great against Portland, though. He just plays upper 30s minutes and 8.5. I guess that I overlooked a bit. Last game, 9K, 8,500 now, 500 price decrease. Will handle the ball a lot and has that shooting guard eligibility. So, yeah, him and Hero in that game. Otherwise, nothing else. You're welcome, Nate. Thank Rio. Absolutely awesome work, Rio. Hour 15 talking this 10-game slate. If you want even more of his work, right here, NBA, go to the Slate plan. He also is in the Discord all the time. You can see his GPP core report, which will be on the site. Cash, of course, up. Also, he does Showdown content. There's 2 more games. They are on FanDuel. You can see a Slate plan for tonight's game on DraftKings right there. If you want to join us, just type in SHIPITNation.com. Our best deal right here. Already has NBA 15 in there. Usually $99, now $85. Gets you every single sport up top and Shiptimizer and the Discord. If you just want to check out like a weekly package, hit Join the Nation. You can see our weekly, monthly, annual. You click on weekly, you type in NBA 15 for the promo code. I do not need my information up there. So we're going to get on out of here. Good stuff, Rio. Any final thoughts for the people?
No, yeah, I like the slate a lot. The more that we broke it down, I feel very clear-headed going into it. I think I know what I want to do. So hopefully that pans out. Wish that we didn't have the $5 GPP. I like the 15 a little bit more, a little bit less competition, but regardless, should be a fun night. Hopefully we get some winners in the Discord tonight, and we could shout that out on Twitter tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. I do like the $5. I'm more likely to dabble. It's more of my bankroll. Also, $5.55 on FanDuel. FanDuel is still putting out some prizes, but you better take first because you're taking fourth, you're going way, way down in pay structure. So just know that. Great stuff as always, Rio. Head over to ShipNation.com. Let's win some cheese tonight. For Rio, I'm Titletown. Peace. Be safe.